Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Whatever time it is, welcome to another episode of Reading to Feed the Mind, a podcast focused on discussing the various aspects of books. My name is Stacey Woods, and I am your host. Hi, everybody. This is our fourth episode of Reading to Feed the Mind. Tonight, I'm having my first episode that's going to have an author. I have with me Melissa January, and she's going to discuss her book, From Trial to Triumph. So, and I have to give special thanks to Books and Bubbles tonight for allowing me to piggyback on their meeting, their book club meeting. Books and Bubbles has been around. This is their 20th anniversary this year. And so they have allowed me to come in and do a podcast of their book club meeting with Melissa January. So we just gonna jump in, y'all. Here we go. All right. So we're gonna allow Melissa to tell a little bit about herself.
Okay, well, hi. I'm Melissa January, born and raised in Germany. I've been in the United States for about 12 years. My story from trial to triumph is still an ongoing story. I'm a domestic violence survivor. It's now almost been 10 years, which might sound a lot for, something to be overcome, but it's still a journey. My book From Trial to Triumph actually helped me heal. And now what I'm trying to accomplish is to show other women that either experienced what I experienced or went through what I went through, and even just overcoming obstacles, that it can be done. You can come out on the other side and still shine.
Right. All right. So now, ladies, let's jump in. Let's discuss the book. What questions do you have?
Hey, I have a lot of obvious questions.
Okay.
Like, is this person still in your life?
No.
Or no?
No.
Okay.
Where is he? Is he gone?
So where he's located, I have no idea.
Okay. Oh, all right. So total no contact. Okay.
I tried to look him up on Facebook.
Okay, he won't have Facebook.
So when was the last time we had contact with him?
I would say about 7 years. No, actually, that's a lie. It was about 5 years ago. So my son, he was going to go on a Disney cruise, and I needed a passport. And so his German birth certificate wasn't efficient enough. So he needed a passport. And I took it upon myself to contact the military to find his father. And we found him at that point of time. All we needed was a signature, and that couldn't even be done at the time.
He denied it?
I said, okay, that was the first and the last. And come to find out, it started all back with how bad of a woman I was, and this is that. And that's when I knew it was the wrong, the wrong box to open at the time.
So is he still in the military?
I don't believe so.
But you knew at that point from the conversation he had not healed.
No. And it's funny that, well, as soon as the book club contacted me about talking about the story, I actually got another Facebook message. And I said, this cannot even be true. I mean, like, Facebook is really, I think this is where it's at. But, I mean, I got another message from another lady that just had another baby by him and kind of like experienced something similar. And so I was like, wow, like you're still up doing the same thing. So that's tough.
Recently.
Very recent.
Wow.
Yes.
So I've never been in an abusive relationship. So I have some of the obvious questions that people would ask that probably haven't been, which is like, why didn't you leave? Why did it take so long to leave? And maybe that's not a fair question because I wasn't in it, but what finally, I mean, I did read this, but what was it in you that innately you said, I gotta get out of here?
Okay, so it was actually my inner will to wanting still to live. So once you experience death these many times and you're still around and you're still able to move, and then knowing you have a child in this world that would either end up with the abuser then you start thinking different. Then you actually find out you're stronger than you think you are. So when I thought my life was over, because I guess for men, I thought, that was my everything. I just couldn't see it, to being a single mom, being born and raised in Germany, it was always tough because that's all I knew. That's all I saw was American fathers not taking care of their kids, military
Excuse
people.
me? Really?
Yes, that's what is shown to us overseas on TV.
Wow. So you mean men from abroad, anywhere, or from the U.S.?
No, from the United States mainly.
They father children there, and they don't take care of them?
Don't take care of them.
Now, is that race-based, or is it just all men? Is it any particular race that's emphasized, or is it just men, American men in general?
Because I never was interested in the other race, I think I was focused on that race.
Yes.
But that's kind of like, not just even in the military. I mean, even if you watch TV and you watch shows, and this is all you see. I mean, that, mainly African American men don't
take care of their children.
Wow, they got a reputation there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, also they were descendants of slaves in America, and that.
Oh yeah, we learned the real history in Germany. I mean, I learned more there than people know here, I think. And I studied history too.
Yeah, that's the reason. A lot of it.
I was kind of surprised. I had my father around for a little bit, and so I did have a father figure. But eventually that didn't work out either. So did my friends and my other friends, and so it was kind of like a cycle. So,
Interesting.
So throughout the book, for me, it was interesting. The book was really good. It kept you engaged. One of my questions were, when you first met him, because it starts out in the book, when you first met him, you realize, he's this basic asshole, kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then you meet him at a later time and you all kind of hit it off. He pursues you or whatever. Do you all ever discuss that? Did you ever discuss with him, remind him of that day that you met him that first time? That was one of my questions. I didn't know if you ever discussed that with him.
So it wasn't alarming to you that basically when he met you at a later date at the club, that it was the physical attraction that drove him?
Oh, absolutely. I knew it. I knew that.
Because he didn't recognize you, correct?
He did.
He didn't recognize because you
And
were
he
in
never
your
said at a
uniform.
later date that he remembered.
I mean, he eventually knew that I was working there and that I was the person, but I never approached the
never put
situation
two
or
and two
never
together.
talked about it. No.
Yeah, you were pretty. I don't know what the word is.
Passive?
Well, you kind of let things slide.
Oh, absolutely.
She let a lot of stuff go.
I was,
But I'm saying,
I was
even just
19.
back to that.
Oh, you were 19.
You were 19.
I thought he was the finest man alive, and you couldn't tell me nothing.
Right, but I'm saying even going back to confronting him on that initial meeting.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
That's really my question. I want to know what the draw is. I want to know. I mean, how fine exactly was he? The finest, or was
he Idris Elba fine, or was he
kind of fine with like a really nice, intense personality, or was he, or was
Was it the swag? Or was he,
I mean, kind of like, how you always have that. You want him to be a little bit of everything. So I kind of like knew it, especially from his size. He was like 6'2", kind of big dude, all muscle, nice smile. I mean, everybody respected him. Every girl wanted him. Every man wanted to be him. So for him to be approaching me, I was kind of shocked, even though I didn't like the first interaction. But then the way he pursued me was like queen every day, all day. I mean, I had everything. I mean, there was nothing that I even, it was just all whatever you want, whatever you like, let's do it. Let's get it.
Was the sex good? I guess the sex was good. Let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it real.
Yeah, in fact, I thought that she was. You're right. I thought she was referring to. No, on a serious tip, I did think that I thought that she would go into some detail on that first sexual encounter, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I like yourself, I asked myself the same thing.
Yeah, because we can be stupid for good sex.
Well, it took a while for me to go there, but when it did happen, it was everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She was like 19.
And we're not giving him praises at all. We just
As
asking.
young as you were.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were
Well,
19.
let me just be clear. Like, I had actually not 19, I was 21. Because when I had my son, I was 22, so I was 21. Probably 20, 21, somewhere in between. Because we was sometime together before I got pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how old was he? Was he older?
Yes, he was older.
How much older was he?
9 years.
So he
Perspective.
yeah. It does.
Now, all the questions, we don't have any more questions.
Yeah, because I was talking to a guy one time, and he was talking about how he was dating a younger woman, and he did this term of, well, I raised her. Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean raised her? And because there was an age significance, that's what they call it. That he's raising, they form you into who they want you to be. And so that would have been that age difference to do that. So I, throughout the book, I really enjoyed it. It was a really good read, but then there were questions. So as you had, after you were sick and you had healed and you were starting to go out in your community, the friend that you met, your first friend that you met, the next door neighbor, whatever happened? Are you still in contact with her, or? Yeah, so what happened to that?
I'm trying to remember. For the longest, I was trying to remember her last name. And actually, I know a lady who still stays in that town. And she went by there, but they have moved. So I just really know
It's
her
Temple.
first
It's
name now.
kind of a military area.
Harker Heights.
Yeah, so what happens is...
And the lady
just
that
stay
took
there
you to
for
the
a
bus
little bit.
station. I assume she was an
Oh, she was
lady.
the other neighbor that I
She
never
was
met.
older?
Older lady, yes.
Now, what about the lady, the neighbor that you felt like you got that vibe that maybe he had been fooling around with her? Did you ever find out if really he was or not?
Yeah.
You remember the one that she was like, I never knew a woman was
That was the same, but no, that was the woman that I was hanging out with. So the woman that came over to saw me for the first time, that was Natalie. That was the lady that I hung out with.
But then I thought that was another lady that...
The older white lady.
Oh, okay.
The older Caucasian lady. She was the other neighbor on the other side. That took you to the bus station.
Yeah, took you to the bus station.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, with regard to that question about what happened to these people, I figured that you were what you were dealing with at the time, that you just chose to keep everything at a minimum with everybody. Is that correct or no? Yeah, you didn't. It wasn't a whole lot of
it's
keeping
very
in touch.
embarrassing. And at the time, kind of you don't even look at yourself the same anymore at all. So whatever confidence I had was done. Whatever self-esteem. It was just a lump. And then people come to you and say, oh my God, I didn't even know you existed, and oh my God, all of that just dragged you down further into that whole way. You just don't feel like yourself, you don't feel like a woman, you don't feel like you don't even feel anymore. It's just like you get to the point that what else, so
So how old is your son now?
He's 14 now.
Does he remember any of the...
My son, he went through his own little separate journey. So, raising him by myself, he went a lot of anger management, and he received some counseling. And, to this day, he's doing pretty well. He's doing pretty good.
Did you have more children?
No, I didn't. He does not want any contact with him. Never. And he do know. There was instances where he was just 9 months old and he would be crawling, and I'm sleeping on the couch every night, and he'll come right at 12:30. He'll come out of his bed and lay right on my thigh every night, and lays there, right there. And that was always my sign, but at some point, like I said, even that wasn't enough anymore. I just wanted out.
And what happened? I'm interested in the relationship with you and your mom.
With me, my mom. Oh, my mom. She's actually living with me today. She's here from Germany. Yeah.
Okay.
She was
so when she found out, how did that go?
Moms always know. My mom she didn't like him from day one. Honestly, But I was so ready for something new. I really wanted my family. Even though I figured, he was always making it seem like his own. He has been with other women, and even with his first wife, they got divorced after 6 months. He felt like, I was able to stimulate his mind, and that's why he felt like this is true love and stuff. So even when I have my son, I kind of like figured, even if it doesn't work, but you never really hope it don't work, you know what I'm saying? And then I always figured, like, what can I do better, you know? Because one thing when you're in that relationship, it's not just physical abuse, it's mental abuse, it's every kind of abuse. And so you start questioning yourself. And then you become something that you're not. And then so you're really just like a pleaser. You're really just like, you don't even exist anymore. So it's all about now him. And it's all about pleasing. It's all about. So I kind of like knew I couldn't really stay back in Germany. Because something would have probably happened to me then. You know, probably would have came up missing or something.
So what was that one thing that made you decide to leave?
Okay, so once I finally knew I was strong, I mean, like, so that last time after I was sick again, and you know, he threatened me once again, and I really just said to myself, okay, Melissa, what are you gonna do? You know, you came over here, you gave up everything. I was a very intelligent, young, successful lady in Germany. I mean, I had everything going for myself. I knew I never wanted to go back. Because people, first of all, they can't even wait for you to fail. Okay, I have seen people come back from the United States, and everybody's judging them, and everybody looking at them crazy, and like, we told you, you know, them soldiers and this and that. So I always said, this is not going to be my story. I'm going to do what I can until I can't anymore. But like I said, once I found my inner strength, I don't know what it was, but I always have to go back to my child and in God. Because for some reason there was always a little, even in that darkness, there was like a little light at the end of the tunnel. Like I would turn on the TV, and even 3 channels that we did have or whatever, you know, they're like call a church or something, you know what I'm saying? Or there's this message, or there's this. And there was always a little light that, you know, you gotta do better. You gotta do something. And then once I was strong enough to pick out a knife and put that under my pillow, and I said, okay, if you touch me ever again, I'm gonna kill you. You know, I mean, I felt so empowered at the time. I was like, I'm finna stab you back. Like, I'm not gonna just keep sitting here and getting beat up and stuff like that. So I don't know, but yeah, it was mainly, I have to say, it had to be my son. I mean, for everything, you know, you got to look at your little 2-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever, just wobbling around trying to find himself, and you just jacked up, and, you know, you got to get yourself together.
Well, did you ever receive any signs or messages from his family when you guys went to visit in Louisiana?
Well, pretty much everything he told me was a lie. So
Yes, I remember that.
That's why I was saying
Puerto
Rico. Yeah.
But I like when Christine, was that the mother-in-law's
The
name?
mother-in-law, yeah.
I like when Christine, the day you braided her hair, how she, you know, she acknowledged
Yeah.
that he's a troubled person, basically.
And so that brings me to
That
a
was
question
actually
I
his
have.
mom. You said the one that braided her hair. That's actually his
your
real
mother-in-law.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was his mom.
So what was his past? What
Yeah.
made
So the
him
funny
be the
fact
person
is,
he
he
was?
grew up with the father all alone. So his father didn't remarry till he was older. So his father was in his life always.
But was his father abusive to his mom?
Never. And his father was a very hardworking construction worker. He cared for his 3 children.
He was just
all
a
along.
So where was this
He
anger?
just-
Where did this anger?
I think
I think it was more
it seemed.
control.
Now, honestly, he did go to college to play football. So and he was one of the prospects who was going to get drafted to go to the NFL. So I do think all of that had something to do.
I don't think
a lot of
sometimes, I don't think that there is a reason that we can see as earthly people. I think sometimes things just happen. There's all different types of people. There's all different types of circumstances. And if there weren't, we wouldn't be close to God. We wouldn't want to be close to, we wouldn't feel that the need to be near to God. I don't think you can put it on anything in particular. I mean, you sometimes hear stories where someone just did something completely out of the rim, and there's no reason for it.
Well, that's true. I was just wondering if there was something in his background with his parents.
Nothing that we could see.
That
I mean,
because it wasn't discussed.
I mean, you know, he was always letting me know that he grew up with a maid and this and that, and they had this and that, and then they really had nothing. I mean, like nothing.
It's a
And
fabrication
so it's
that
like
you put
really
in
like
his
you had a poor little kind of upbringing where your mom pretty much, you know, raised you and your grandmother, and I don't know, you made it to college, was able to make something out of yourself and then something tragic happened. I'm not sure, but I didn't think he might have had a bad childhood, because even the grandkids that they did raise, or she raised, his mom, I think they was good kids. They were, they wasn't bad kids. I mean, even his sister, she got children. His brother got children. None of the kids are bad kids. They're all good kids. So
the grandmother raised whose kids? His sister? Or
So yeah, his brother's kids, and then some of her. The kids will always just be around there. But it was like
not really.
The only thing that I can always just say, it was like real backwood living. I mean, it was. When I came from a city in Germany, and I was just like, oh my God, what is that? And then because I didn't want to stay there, that was a big deal. And I mean, I was 18 years old. I made 6 figures. I wasn't trying to stay in no roach infested place. Stuff. I ain't never seen a roach in my life. So it was a whole bunch of crazy. But I mean, I tried to make it work even with that.
You tried.
You did try. You did.
Well, I had a question. I was wondering, what were you doing in Germany?
So I was an operation manager for a security company. So I was contracted as a German, but to the military. So I was like a civilian.
But you were raised in Germany.
So you were born there and raised
So I'm German. So my first language was German. I went to German school, German high school, German college, all that.
Wow. When did you learn English?
So my English pretty much when I first came to the United States was pretty broken. I learned English in school a little bit, but that's like that Oxford English, which is not even compatible to American English. And then it was really just the basic stuff. So I always said reading books. So Maya Angelou was one of my inspirations, and just reading. And I still read to this day. I don't even watch TV, I just read. And that's how I got all my knowledge of it.
Wow. Yeah. So did you have trouble communicating with him then when you met him?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not trouble, but I was really just trying to please all the time. Anyways, I wasn't trying to say too much.
Oh, okay.
So I did know that he had.
I didn't realize. I mean, that was
yeah, it wasn't like I didn't speak any at all, that I couldn't understand what he was saying, but my knowledge was limited. Let's just say that. I knew the basic words, of course, like regular communication, but
So I have.
But wait, hold on. So, I'm fascinated by Black people in Germany. So were your parents German too?
So my mom is half. So she's German and Black as well, and my dad was 100% African American. So he's actually from Atlanta, Georgia.
So he was in the military at the time.
Is your dad here now?
I don't know. My dad, we don't have contact.
Oh, okay.
But he might be high.
You one of those people you read about, huh?
Yeah.
I have a question about in the very beginning of the book when you guys came to Atlanta and you went out with your family to the club and that whole scenario and how you ended up.
I was going to ask you, that's related to your illness? Was that what it was?
That was a strong drink in the United States that I couldn't handle.
Because you mentioned that you took some mints off the and I'm like, was it a mint or was it a...
Nah, it was peppermint, honestly, it was. But you know how you take 2 peppermints and it numb your whole taste buds? And then I should have known there was nothing but liquor in the cup because there wasn't even no color in it. It was straight up, I think...
You came from the vodka country of the world. Come on.
That was different. And then who knows, did I even eat that day? I don't even know what it was, but I just know I blacked out. It was.
So why did they put you out of the club? That's when that was the part.
I blacked out. I got literally dead. Like I didn't even know. I was just like, I just saw this big old dude in front of me, and I was just like, whoa. I was like in a zone, and he was saying stuff, but it was loud music.
At first, though, you kind of pushed him.
Yeah, I was like, I'm okay, but then I just felt myself like getting weaker, and I just knew then when I woke up, I was outside and this little homeless lady was right there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But they did let you back in.
I mean, yeah, but it was crazy. I was not that. I was really truly scared. So, and so when I used to come to the States, I was like a kid. I had never been out or anything. So that was scary. Oh my God, I never forget.
That was scary. It was a question I had. What was it?
Tracy made you forget.
Yeah, she made you wait.
Yeah, I did, because Tracy, it's your fault, you know that.
In my mouth.
So
Tracy's fault. I forgot.
So while you're thinking, Christy, of your question,
Say it again while you're thinking.
so books and bubbles, y'all, means that we've been drinking.
We've had a few bubbles.
We've had a couple of bubbles, but we're having fun. So you've made it through. We were talking earlier, and you were mentioning that your second, that you are working on a second book, the follow-up to your story. Can you tell us like when you think that'll be out and how you feel that will follow through with what your message is today?
Yeah, I just really want to show that, like I said, no matter what, don't ever give up on yourself. If you believe in yourself, anything is possible, and I'm a perfect model for that. I came here with no knowledge, no English, basically, no degrees, no nothing. I got a successful career nowadays. I'm an author, I'm a published model, I'm working on my fitness brand right now. There's a lot that you can accomplish even by going through things, and really trying to show women that there's an inner strong that you just haven't discovered. And I think everyone has it. So everybody that sits around this table has an inner strong that they need to discover. And whatever it is, bring it out. This is our gift back to the world. God didn't just put us here to just be average. Everybody has something that somebody else needs. And for people to speak up about things, I never thought I would ever share this story. Because, it's nothing to be, it's embarrassing. Not that it's just embarrassing. It's also humiliating, it's depressive, it's sad, it's everything. So all these emotions, you got to keep going through it, and people want to know more and know more. But then it's part of the journey. You have to be, it's part of me. I can't hide it. I would never be her today if I wouldn't brought out that story. If you want to become anything in life, live your true self. Be yourself.
Yeah, I thought about it. It's not meant to, they say it's not meant to stay in the valley, but to thrive in it.
Amen. Absolutely.
And I don't think you should ever be embarrassed. I guess personally you feel embarrassed, but I don't think anyone should feel embarrassed about sharing their journey, because it's always going to help someone. My mother was in an abusive relationship when I was a little girl, and I didn't see a lot of it, but I saw one incident, and I think it was that one incident that I did see and my reaction to it that finally helped her realize she needed to get out of it, and she did. So I don't think it's anything you should ever be embarrassed about. I think it should be something that, you just get through and you get victorious, and you can't look back on, because everybody has a journey. That's my belief system. When I'm working with younger adults and stuff, I always say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And everybody has a journey. We, some of us go along the path that we were instructed to go on, and we follow all the processes. But then there's some people that have to divert, and it's through that path that they get to know themselves. And so that's what, so don't ever, and no one should ever be ashamed, embarrassed by it. You just, especially when you come out on top.
No, yeah, absolutely. At the time, it's tough to talk about it, especially when you had everything going for yourself. You could have probably any man over there, and you pick the worst one, and you kind of like...
Yeah, and I think...
And people saw it on the outside, though, you know what I'm saying? So they would warn you, and they give you all kinds of signs, and then they're looking at you, okay, you got to be slow. Something got to be wrong with her.
So am I correct in thinking that... your embarrassment is what kept you there so long? You were embarrassed. You didn't want to tell your sister when you went to Atlanta to see your sister.
Well, it wasn't more the embarrassment. It was more so that I didn't want to be a liability to anybody. Everybody has their own stuff going on. And even when I came to Atlanta, I felt like I was just another lump on somebody else's leg. I'm a very independent woman at a young age. I always had the entrepreneur spirit. I always was... in the house, I fixed everything. I always wanted to know stuff. I always figured stuff out. I was researching stuff at an early age. So, to be dependable on somebody. And then, I mean, my sister, she left Germany when she was 18, so me and my sister didn't really grow up. So we didn't have that.
What was the age gap?
It's oh my God, look, 13, 14 years old.
Okay. See, there was a lot of things that were left out of the book, like what year it was, what the age gap was, things like that made the reader had a difficult time trying to understand.
I understand.
You know what I mean? So that's why I asked the question. It wasn't trying to get you to admit to pride or anything. It was like, why didn't you confide in your sister when you had the opportunity? But that makes sense. If it was 13 years and y'all were ocean away, you didn't feel that close, that connection to her, that you could do that.
And then it's also that it happened to some of my family members as well. So they're like, okay, you've seen it happen to me, like what, you know?
Yeah.
So there's certain things. And then, like I said, I wanted to be strong too. I didn't want to let nobody see me sweat, you know? And sometimes when you think family is there, sometimes family stab you right in the back too, you know? So it's, which my family didn't do, but you just never know what you're going to receive and where it's going to take you.
So that last time in the book when that was seemingly to me the worst beating of all, you know, and your son was there, he was little, and then you finally, when you went to the hospital, you finally, when they said, who did this to you? What's going on with you? And you finally just kind of took a breath and you said, my husband is beating me. And you admitted it to them at the hospital. Whatever happened to him in terms of with the military? Did they find out?
So they did. They took him out the house for about a week, I think, and that's when they then said he had to leave. So then he had to leave Texas. So we were separated, and then even then he still came home.
He was never discharged or anything from the military?
No, they probably now, and that's what I was thinking about when I felt like at the hospital they probably had a hint there was something going on. But the military has its own government, for lack of a better word.
And then he had a higher rank too, and he had a very noble position too. So he was not like just an average cat in the military. So they was always protecting him. Period. I went all the way to the JAG office, which they call it, the lawyers for the families and stuff. I couldn't get any help from them. But I just thought he had way too much power over me. And that's what he always made me feel anyway. He was always like, you from Germany, nobody care what you got to say. I'm in the military.
And did you ever get your documents?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. How come you couldn't get it back somewhere or another through your mother, somebody else get it for you?
Well, like my personal passport, I was able to get another one here at the German consulate. But like my son's passport, I couldn't get back or anything. And then my son can't travel now until he's of age.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he still has his document.
And he was...
So on a different note, your birthday is June 28th.
It was just choices. I saw that.
Also the best.
Yeah, I saw that. I was thinking about that.
October 16th.
That's my birthday.
Are you serious? Wow.
I was in the book. I was kind of trying to. I was like,
Oh,
did she actually
wow.
have him on the 16th? But
Yes,
yeah,
it is
that's my
October
birthday, too.
16th. Wow, what a connection.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was checking it out.
Birthday's June 28th.
Yeah,
So you say your son is 14?
October
You're in
16th.
Swanee, right? Does he go to North Gwinnett?
No, he's actually going to Peachtree Ridge.
Peachtree Ridge.
Well, he's going to go to Peachtree Ridge, yeah.
Nice. Okay, so next steps. We'll do the next steps and then we'll close out as far as the videos and stuff are concerned. So what's your next steps? Where I know that you are doing personal development and things like that. So
So I used to, like I said, I used to professionally model. I kind of like took that to the side because I'm older now, and I'm like, it was very great to connect with young girls because I think I went exactly through what a lot of these females go through nowadays. It was all of this outside, and really, like as a young teenage girl, I think that's how you think you get a man. I mean, by your looks, And then now, the way I think now is like, even with Live Strong Her, it's like healing from the inside out, strong from the inside out. Everything is inside out. And basically, whatever you have on the inside is going to come out the outside.
So that's your next book, Live Strong Her?
Live Strong Her. So it's like Live Stronger, but it's Live Strong Her.
Okay.
So it is
I like that. I do.
And brand. I mean, like, it's like my fitness brand. So fitness is now my next thing where I found love. At first it was modeling, and that's what I felt like. That's why I always say it's always a journey. So people are like, oh, now you're going to be a model. No, it was really like, it's to get back to Melissa, you know, and that, like I said, fitness is just a way for me to find my inner peace. And that's where I feel like I found love again for myself, for my body, for my mind, for everything, because I never thought I could accomplish anything in life.
So in essence, the lady that you met at the hospital was your saving grace that said,
oh my, Cloud
give me a
Nine.
call
Amen.
if you want to model.
And I actually I still follow her. We don't talk as much, but that lady really was like, wow. I mean, it was just like, if y'all would have seen me, I looked like a ghost. I mean, I literally was skinny I was skinny. I had no posture. I had nothing. But she saw something in me. And that's why I always say, you just never know what the person goes through, but you can be that person to make
That's an angel.
You know, her day, her life, whatever that was, whatever she saw, I was forever grateful for it. You know, that was like amazing. And then when I went to her house, I was just like, I was reminiscing because I was modeling since I was 6 years old. I was a catalog model back home in Germany, but it was different there because I was the opposite. They wanted the brown girl with the curly hair. You know, here in the States, it's like everybody looks like me. I mean, like, I'm not special, you know, but whatever she saw, I mean, like I said, it definitely gave me strength at the time.
Had you thought of going back to Germany, since that's really your...
No, that was one goal I never had. Now, if you know Germans, Germans are the most judgmental people on this earth. I mean, like, when people think they're judgmental here, no, you have no idea. I mean, if I would have went home, I don't think I ever would have became anything. I would have just been a welfare project. I honestly feel like it, because like what would have happened was like everybody would have told you, I told you so, and I told you so, and I told you so. You know different, and then, you know, eventually that would have sunk it into me, and I probably would have never made anything out of myself in that case. But here it's like, okay, you either gonna live or you gonna not be anything. You know, that kind of like the survival mode. That's what got me to, you know, go harder. And I mean, like, I picked the worst jobs when I first was able to work. I mean, I was an insurance agent, and I swear to God, I didn't even know anything about insurance. And I was like, well, why don't I sell life insurance since I almost died all the time, you know? So I was telling people, like, listen, you here today, but you might not be here tomorrow. So it was funny in a fact, but you know, like I said, I had to work damn near 3 jobs just to make a living. And so, I mean, I wanted to live in a certain area. I wanted to be safe and stuff, and you know, the struggle really made me.
She used to work at the back. Oh,
yeah, exactly. And then working I had a security job at night. I was working at HR office, and then I was selling insurance. Eventually, when the recession hit, I started selling cars because they had the cash for clunkers. And so, like, I always had the mentality of, like, even back home in Germany, I would always create. I would always look for opportunity. Eventually, and you know what was always funny? Like, every opportunity always introduced me to the next step. So I was able to always, you know, wing things. But the reason why I wrote this book, I had a homeless person come in that day, and it was in the building. But for some reason, my heart, you know, I was so close to homeless all the time, and just because I wear a suit now is not changing the way I feel about people. So this guy came in and he looked very cold, and I was like, oh gosh. I was like, I can't even do it. Like, I can't tell him to leave. So I just told him, come outside, come in this area. And then I gave him some hot chocolate, and, you know, he was very nice. And I was like, you know, I had a little conversation with him, and I don't even know what it makes, you know, sometimes I just have conversation with people that I probably shouldn't have, because I was like, you don't seem homeless. You know, you are very articulate. And he was like, oh, you know, sometimes things happen in life. But he was like, shoot, you look stressed out. You look like it. He was like, at least that's something I ain't got to worry about. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know about stressed out, but I was like, I'm working. I mean, you know, on the clock. And so I was like, okay, I'm checking on you in a couple of minutes. So when I went back outside, he was gone. And I was like, dang, I wanted to talk to him again. And so a couple of days later, this same gentleman walked in with, well, I already told the story. But anyway, the homeless person walked in a whole suit with tie and everything. What? And I felt like I knew the eyes of that person, but I said, nah. And so, you know, he came to my desk, and I was like, hello, how are you? And he was like, okay, well, you don't remember me, huh? And I was like, huh?
So he was undercover?
So yeah, so he said every now and then he does that. But that is his story actually. So he was homeless and his son was homeless. So it's kind of like the pursuit of happiness is part of his story. And he's now a doctor. Well, he's a PhD doctor, but he's one of those, like Toastmaster. He's like I don't even know how many times.
I know. I'm like talking Stacey's
he
language.
wins Toastmasters like wherever he go. I mean, all he do is like make big money now.
So he really was undercover?
So yeah, he said sometimes he just want to get a feeling of how people would treat him one day like this and one day like this. And this guy, actually, I was like, well, what is it that you do? And then he was like, I'm Dr. Carlton.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm Dr. Such and such. And he was like, I would like to talk to you. And I was like, talk to me for what? I'm like, I'm cool on the whole homeless thing. First of all, I think you fooled me. And then second of all, I don't know what you want from me now. But, so we started chatting and he was like, I have a story too. And then he was like, what story? And I was like, I'm a domestic violence survivor. And that's the first time me actually saying the whole word domestic violence. Wow. And he was like, you should write a book. And I was like, this man will come into this office every other month. I see you. I'm waiting on it. And
so he finally saw the finished product.
He actually came to my first book signing too. Yeah, that was amazing. And I was
book signing? I want my book signed.
That was And so he was the actual person that inspired me to write the book.
And I love that it was him.
Yeah.
So I love that you embraced him and didn't go like, ooh, get out. You know what I mean?
No, I could never do that.
Because you said he was homeless and he just looked cold.
Let me tell you something. When you came to Atlanta for that little vacation and you was at that club and you got kicked out, you were kind of.
And you was out in the back with the other homies.
I know, right? I know, yeah. But it was just because it was
amazing.
so unknown.
The journey will make you understand.
Humble you all the way. And I even said it before. I mean, like now, I have given back so many times. I've been to shelters. I spoke at certain events. This, that. I would have never done that if never nothing would have happened. I mean, I was just not even, I was always a people person, but more so like from the far. Right. Like, I'm the one to send your donation before I shake your hand, or I'm the one like, let me find somebody to hook you up with, but let me step back. Now I'm just like open arms, like, what do you need? What do you, here I am. I mean, I try to do whatever I can.
Again?
Question. Well, again or for the first time?
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
Yeah, that was a good question. I was
she has, and she's
for that one. So I have had another relationship after that just recently ended. Yeah.
Part of the
engagement. But the thing is now, it's just like, you know exactly what you want and you know what you don't want.
Right.
And so
Don't waste your time.
There you go.
Waste your time.
So now the ball is in my court.
There you go.
Now whatever I don't feel like dealing with or don't want to put up with, I really don't. And I do give people the option. People say when you meet somebody, don't tell them all about you. No, I do. I'm gonna tell you my story because I don't want you to find out on the internet or somebody talking about it. And I'm no longer broken at all. I will never say I'm completely healed because that's foolish. But I am whole, as whole as I can be. And I don't think nobody comes whole. Yeah. So either we're gonna fix each other and accept each other's past. So either we're going to accept each other and accept each other's past and however we come with all the scars and stuff like that, because like I said, a lot of times you can cover up a lot, right? And I did that for the longest too. I was running around with a mask. So when I do, like I said, meet somebody, I do let them know and I open up to them and let them also know, so at least they get a chance what not to do. Now you get anywhere close to that, then I just can't.
Wow. All right, everybody. Well, I think this has been a really great meeting, and I thank you all so much again for allowing me to host my first author at your meeting, Books and Bubbles.
Well, I want to thank Melissa for sharing her story.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Thank you for sharing your story. And I'll be excited to see
first book club experience, so I have had, like I said, this was the first time, so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Well, this is it right here.
Yeah.
You came on this strong.
Like I said, I want to, anything that you feel like you have a passion about, anything you know you can stop thinking about, do it. Even if it takes years. I mean, just work on it step by step, or in any way I can help, I'm here.
All right. Okay. Well, that ends our 4th episode. Thank you all for tuning in. All right. And remember, continue to read to feed your mind.